Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So I've spoken in previous videos about the importance of protecting your energy because some individuals will try to transfer energy from you to themselves by draining you and things like that, repress, control, or just deplete another person's energy. I just want to dive in deeper and provide some context as to the different ways that energy transferring is achieved so that you are informed. You can look out for people and situations that this would be applicable to, and so that you just do not fall into the trap of allowing someone to transfer energy to you that is not wholesome or good for your well being. So, the first way that people energy transfer is through siphoning. So, siphoning is pretty much the act of using a tube to move liquid upwards into another reservoir. So, when you want to move something from a lower plane to a higher plane, the act is called siphoning. Some people do this with gas. Very, very dangerous. Don't ever do this. But some people do this with gas when they're trying to steal gas from other vehicles. They will kind of just siphon it from one tank and then put it into like a container so that it can go into their tank. The same thing is true with energy. People will try to take your positive, wholesome, strong, good energy and transfer it to themselves. But in the process of them doing that, they are draining you. And so it's not like they're feeding off of your energy in a positive way where you're both being fulfilled and being enriched. And then at the end of the encounter, you both just feel good. You know, like meeting up with a friend or a family member that you haven't seen in a while and you guys have good conversation. And then you look back and say, I'm so glad that I met that person, and you both feel amazing. In this transfer, you are left feeling drained and depleted. And a lot of times, you do not often realize that your energy is being depleted until you're either deep within the situation or until after the siphoning has happened. And the outcome is that the other individual ends up getting what they wanted. So, a lot of times this is done through using negative encounters. So sometimes it can be trauma dumping. The other person will just dump their trauma onto you and then sort of just walk away. Or instead of having like a meaningful conversation, for example, between friends, like, where you guys catch up, your friend tells you about their problems, and then, maybe you're going through something personally at that time and you wanted someone to confide in, but your friend does not allow any space for you to do that. That person is siphoning your energy so that they can get a release. They can maybe get a shot of dopamine, maybe they can get some validation, and then you're kind of just left carrying their burden and your burden. And so then that makes you feel drained. So people will do this again through conjuring your emotions in order to get attention to their cause at your expense. Another example of this is attacking Black women unprovoked in social media. I saw like a video randomly of someone going around in Russia and asking Russian men what race they find more attractive, or what culture, what ethnicity. And one guy, everyone else was like talking about their own women. They said, oh, we think Russian women or Slavic women are the best looking, which is totally fine and expected of a Russian man to say. But then one guy was like, oh, I think that Black women are the least attractive. And it's like the podcaster or whoever did not ask you who you found least attractive. But because there is this ongoing trend on social media to gain more views or kind of create that shock factor, and you do it at the expense of Black women, more and more people are doing this without even realizing it to then get more views. And of course, the interviewer, made sure that they added that clip as the first clip in the video, and it achieved the result that he was hoping to achieve. So when someone is doing this, it's so important to just disconnect and disengage and have boundaries. So, for example, let's say you just had a hard, long day and you just want to go home and unwind and just chill and relax. And then you see a phone call from your mom and you know that your mom's full of drama. You can exercise boundaries and protect yourself from her siphoning your energy by simply choosing not to answer the phone. And you can call her back when you feel grounded and well enough to do so. Or you can answer the phone, and if she starts, carrying on and wanting to trauma dump or, get into it with you, just say, hey, you know what, mom? I don't have the capacity to have this conversation right now. I'll call you back. And you can choose whether or not you actually want to call her back and move on. Okay, it's very important that you be aware of your own emotional state. So that involves emotional intelligence as well as the emotional state of others, so that you can see when this is about to happen and nip it in the bud before it starts. Otherwise, you're going to constantly find yourself in situations where people are just draining your energy, making you feel depleted, and then you wonder why am I always so tired at the end of the day, or why am I always so tired when I'm around these set of people? I remember when I used to go to church, there was this one church where I don't know what it was, but I would always have a headache. I would have to leave and take an Advil or just go home. And I was like, this is not natural. Like anytime I'm in this setting, my head hurts. And it's not until years later I realized that because that environment was so toxic, there was so many things in that church going on. The pastor, it was a female pastor who would kind of go on stage and curse people who didn't agree with her. She was super passive aggressive. The members were passive aggressive. It was just a hot mess. And so naturally, when you're in a toxic environment like that, that's going to make you feel drained and depleted. Number one, if you're not going into that setting with the purpose of being toxic as well, you're going into that setting hoping to get a meaningful spiritual connection, and you're not getting that. Of course, you're going to feel depleted when the opposite is happening. So years later, I realized, okay, this church is toxic. I'm not ever stepping foot in here. And not only am I never coming to this church again, I will know not to step foot in similar churches who their demographic matches the same demographic and characteristics and etc., because this is a common thing amongst these type of churches. Another way that people perform energy transfers is through energy vampires. So this is kind of similar to energy siphoning, but it's pretty much where people will drain your energy with their unhealed energy through constant complaining, negativity, gossip, victim mentality, and things like that. And this one, it's a little bit more nuanced from energy siphoning, and it's a little bit more dangerous in that people can do this through only one interaction. It doesn't need to be a constant contact where you meet with them over and over, and then over time they siphon your energy and drain you. You can meet with one individual, a complete stranger, for example, and that person is just toxic. Have you ever encountered someone in public where you're just there minding your own business and they feel the need to ask you personal questions, and then when you kind of are guarded or I'm not going to engage with you on this, they get offended? People like this who have a lack of boundaries, to me, they're highly volatile, they're out of control. And so they will latch onto anyone that they can get their fangs onto, so to speak, and try to drain your energy in order to get the desired outcome. And a lot of times it's just that they want attention. They just want someone to see them. They want someone to acknowledge them, validate them, whatever. And so they will even latch onto a random stranger, conjure up drama, and then kind of just walk away feeling fulfilled. This can also be true for people who you know. So in order to protect yourself, you need to know what battles to fight. Okay, so sometimes it involves correcting the person's behavior and saying, look, I don't want to have this conversation with you. Or, you know what? I don't think I'm in the position to help you because every time we have this conversation, you don't even take my advice. So I'm sorry, but please do not come to me with your problems anymore. Or sometimes it is knowing the difference when to walk away, when to say, you know what, you're not even worth my energy right now. I see that you're looking for attention and I'm not going to give it to you. So I'm going to starve you of that and walk away. Sometimes that is more powerful and necessary, especially for your own mental health. You constantly having to correct, you constantly having to stand up for yourself and you're not seeing any change, especially if it's with the same individual, the best approach is to block that person out completely, reinforce boundaries if that is someone that you need to be in contact with a lot, like a coworker or a family member. But it's very important to know this distinction so that you're not constantly being drained again by having to correct behavior and stand up for yourself. At the end of the day, people, we are autonomous beings. We, even children, are pretty much aware of our behavior and how our behavior impacts other people. And so, 9 times out of 10, the person knows what their intention is and they are going to do whatever they want to do to get whatever outcome. And so, you also have the right to respond in a place where you'll be protected so that you also get the achieved outcome. And that would be peace, healthy boundaries, good mental health, so that you can have a better quality of life. Okay, realize that not everything is a fight, and you need to preserve your energy for things that are more important, whether it's focusing on leveling up, whether it's dealing with an actual serious matter. Maybe there is something serious going on in the family, health wise, an emergency, whatever. You need to be at a place mentally strong enough where you have enough energy to deal with this so that, number one, you're not hyper emotional, you can think more clearly, and you have the strength to get through these situations. If you're constantly allowing your energy to be siphoned and taken from you for trivial little matters, when you actually encounter real life situations that need your energy and your focus, these situations will ruin you and you'll have a harder time getting through it. This is where some people, they end up getting burnt out. Some people have mental breakdowns because it's just too much being piled onto one until they finally meet their breaking point. So think of your energy as a currency. Think of it as money that you have worked hard to attain. And think of it as, you know what, because this is a currency for me, this is something that I've worked hard to attain. I am not going to just give it away to whoever willy-nilly. The same thing, the same way that you would with cash. You only put your cash towards things that have meaning and value to you, whether it's luxury items, whether it's investments, and you don't spend your money on things that don't matter to you. Okay, so the same thing should be true of your energy. All right, thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you think about this topic down below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.